Joining us right now is one of our friends, Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, America's Psychologist. Hey, doctor, how are you?
Steve, it's always a pleasure to be on with you.
You're always so up. I love talking to you. You're always so up. I guess that's because you're a psychologist. You can make yourself be up all the time.
Well, yeah, and even though we don't seem to agree on much, Steve, I respect your opinion. It's always a thrill to be with you, and that's why my energy is always up for
that's
you. That's
very nice of you to say. I respect you too, and I think we may agree or disagree on item number 2 here, but let's start with item number 1, and that is the leaker. Mr. Snowden, what is it that drives somebody? I mean, he's presented himself in the interview that he did with The Guardian, which I'm sure you've watched, as someone who just, didn't want to live in a country that did these kinds of things. Gave up his girlfriend, gave up his high-paying job, which, by the way, he overstated. Apparently, he was making $125, not 2-something. Gave up a life in Hawaii, gave up the lap of luxury. So he portrayed himself in a certain way and committed what most legal experts agree, whether you agree with what he did or not, is a felony, and he knows he's going to be, at the very least, arrested and brought back here and tried, and he said, or the CIA will get me and they'll kill me, is what he implicated. So with all that as a backdrop, who are we dealing with here?
I think we're dealing with someone who actually believes that he is doing something for the greater good. But Steve, and I think you sense this too, this is a man who is willing to give up a lot of people, who has made a decision on his own without any real reality testing that his way is the right way. And the fact that he's overstating his salary, that, yes, he is in big, big trouble, but even the way he romanticizes all of that tells me that maybe we're dealing with someone who's a bit narcissistic here, and certainly someone who may not be all there psychologically.
Right, and I also think there were certain things he misstated where he said he had confusing words, probably intentionally, because he's no dummy, I think you'll agree, such as he had authorization to, get into anybody's email, even the president, if he had an address. I mean, I doubt anybody gave him that authorization. He may have had the ability, but I don't think anybody said to him, go into everybody's email. You know what I'm saying? He played with words.
And to me, this is what's really scary, that even if he didn't have the authorization, and I doubt that he did, the fact that he had this kind of information, this could have gone either way. He could have sold that information to another government. If nothing else, yes, in his heart, he may believe he's doing the right thing. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But I also see someone who's looking for significance, was a bit of a drifter, was a bit of an underachiever, certainly very, very impulsive. And even though he may have been living in the so-called lap of luxury, this is a guy, I believe, who was really, really bored and was looking for an opportunity to grab some greatness.
Yet it does take, and believe me, I don't agree with what he did, and I think he should just rot in jail. I think he's a traitor. But having said that, it does take, and I don't know what kind of mental instability or stability or what kind of person, that's why you're here. But to know that what you're doing, I mean, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting him and a murderer, a mass murderer, or someone who shoots up a movie theater in the same light at all. But having said that, when you do it, your life is done as you know it. When you do it, it's over for you. Maybe it's going to be over permanently, and you're done. You're dead, or you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. So he did what he did, knowing that that's it. And whatever I maybe I'm bored, but wow, I'm done. In a sense. So
yeah.
What is that? What kind of person does that?
Well, not only is it somewhat impulsive the way he did it because he didn't think it through, but he had been mulling about this for a long time. I think this is someone who's very rebellious, independent spirit, but to the point of being absolutely self-destructive. And that is a knife. I believe what he did is a knife that cuts both ways. Yes, maybe he's doing a service to the American public, but the way he went about to do it I think has put a lot of people, especially those closest to him, in a really bad spot. It's very, very selfish.
That's another thing. Sure, the FBI's already been at the parents' house. I'm sure they're talking to the girlfriend. Everybody he's ever known is now going to be the subject of interrogation or suspicion. So that's another consideration, which maybe he made and maybe he didn't.
Exactly, and part of that impulsivity. I just think when we do have people who really think about the republic, in many ways, they talk to other people before they do what they are about to do that can be life-changing, world-altering. And it seems like this guy was having all of these conversations in his own head, and that is a sign of trouble.
All right. We're talking to Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, America's Psychologist, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You see him all over TV. And I want to ask you about something else that broke last night. We found out that the Justice Department, the Obama administration, will stop trying to limit the sales of the so-called morning after pill to women of all ages without a prescription. In other words, this was the dictate of a judge, the finding of a judge, and the Justice Department was mulling whether or not they were going to fight that, and they've decided they're not going to fight it. Let me ask you, do you see any age limit needed here? Because now any girl without a prescription, without a mother or a father or an adult, could walk into a drugstore and buy this pill, and you hope if they're taking it, they know what the heck they're doing, but there's no adult supervision required.
Yeah, regrettably, I think we have become a society where young girls are sometimes forced to go after this morning after pill for the simple fact there may not have been the proper supervision in the home. They're acting out sexually, and now it becomes a situation of desperation. There's something called partial emancipation in the medical field, and ages 13 to 17, when it comes to STDs, sexual treatment, and so on, are actually able to get the help of a physician without the parents, because we know that sometimes parents may limit the options for their children. So in some ways, this is a good thing that they can still have this partial emancipation. But like you, Steve, I fear as a parent that sometimes the wrong decisions will be made and the morning after pill might be used as birth control. So we really have to work with our young women and young boys and get them to understand the responsibility and seriousness of sexuality.
Do you believe that we're going that this is an example? I'm not putting words in your mouth. That's why I'm asking the question. Do you believe this is an example of our society, just continuing to diminish the rights of parents in favor of the rights? In this case, they say it's a young woman's health. How on earth they believe a 12-year-old girl or an 11-year-old girl should be taking any kind of medicine without their parents' knowledge, or at least an adult or a doctor? I just think we're going crazy in the other direction.
Well, I believe many people feel as you do, and I totally understand. My opinion is a little bit different. I think we have to get to our young girls and young boys, but certainly our young girls, before they make these life-shattering decisions. But at the end of the day, the reason that we have this whole partial emancipation as part of medical ethics is because as parents, not all parents are like you or I, Steve. Some of them are very, very punitive, and so where a young girl could use the help of a morning after pill, they may inhibit her from doing so, and therefore she now has a life where she already has 2 or 3 strikes against her. So it really is a very difficult situation all the way around.
Do you believe that the Obama administration should have at least continue to try to fight it and have some kind of age base in there?
I think the Obama administration did the right thing. I do believe the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and that's why we want to get more responsibility for young girls, but at the same time that they have the option, if they are in desperation, of getting the morning after pill without the interference of parents. But the interesting thing here is, Steve, is that even President Obama himself, even though his administration did not go after an age restriction, believes that this is something that much older girls or young women should be doing, and so he has the same concern as many parents, being that he's a father of two girls himself.
Dr. Jeffrey Gardere.